toast to the ruling classes of Albion. Spew it out your soul, love is on the dole, and there she will stay.
Hello and welcome to another week of From Piccadilly to Wigan Pier. Now this week we're very much at the heart of the Great Depression in Britain, and we're looking at the play Love and the Dole by Ronald Gow, which is based on the book of the same name by Walter Greenwood, which appeared in 1933. And I think of all the works that we study in this course, this is the one which had the greatest controversy and greatest public impact at the time it was produced. So the novel Love and the Dole is a great sensation, and the play which is produced based on it is one that is seen by over 1 million people in the mid-1930s, and it tours the country. There's various attempts that are made to produce a film of Love and the Dole, but these are all vetoed by the censors because of the very controversial subject matter. And when the film appears during the war years, there's very much the message in it that Britain cannot go back to the poverty and unequal social conditions of the 1930s. So Love and the Dole focuses on the plight of a Hardcastle family who live in an area of Salford called Hankey Park. Harry Hardcastle is an industrial apprentice who gets his girlfriend pregnant. However, he loses his job during the economic downturn, and he's also unable to draw unemployment pay due to the means test. Harry's sister Sally is in love with Larry Meath, a socialist, but she eventually gives in to the affections of Sam Grundy, a bookmaker, who can raise her out of poverty and give work to Harry. Here we see a clip from the end of the film Love and the Dole from 1941, which focuses on how Sally's decision has torn the Hardcastle family apart.
Well?
What are these tales I've been hearing about being Sam Grundy?
What about him?
Have you got the cheek to stand there and tell me they're true?
Yes, nay, sorry, Lord, don't. It's true, Mother, and I don't care who knows it. And I'll tell thee summat else. It's sick I am a codging old clothes to try and make 'em look summat like. And it's sick I am a working week after week and seeing nought for it. And it's sick I am of never having nought but what's been in pawn shop and crawling with dirt and vermin. I'm sick of the sight of Hankey Park, I and everybody in it.
So you go on the loose, would you? And make respectable folks like me and your mother the talk of the neighborhood. Damn you, you're not fit to be a daughter of mine.
Yeah, who cares what folks say? Well, there's none I know as wouldn't change places with me if they had the chance. You'd have me wed, would you? Well, tell me where's fellow around here as can afford it. Them as is working aren't able to keep themselves, never mind a wife. Look at yourself. And look at our Harry. On workers' relief and hasn't even got a bed he can call his own. Well, can you get our Harry a job? No, but I can. I've got influence now, but I'm not respectable.
Get out. Get out before I kill you.
Right, and I can do that too. You turned our Harry out because he got married. You're turning me out because I'm not. You'd have me like all the rest of the women, working themselves to death and saying out for it. Look at Mother. Look at her. Well, there isn't a man breathing now Larry's gone as can get me like that for him.
You brazen slut. Keep your lying tongue off your mother, do you hear?
Father, look what you've done.
Keep away from her. Keep away from her, do you hear?
Lass, don't cry.
So as you can see there, Love and the Dole is often very uncomfortable and moving viewing. And I think a lot of the success of Love and the Dole was based on the context in which it was produced. So in summer 1931, we see the Labour government break up due to rows within the cabinet over plans by the Prime Minister, Ramsay MacDonald, to cut unemployment pay by 20%. This is a time in which the government's really struggling to deal with a huge deficit in the unemployment fund. A national government is then formed, still under the leadership of Ramsay MacDonald, but very much reliant on Conservative MPs, and it wins a landslide election victory in October 1931. It then introduces the means test, which is perhaps the most controversial aspect of the government's handling of unemployment in the 1930s. Now, what do we mean by the means test? Well, the means test means that claimants cannot receive full unemployment pay if they are deemed to have savings or household possessions which they can sell off, which they can use to fund their living expenses. And instantly, 250,000 people are affected by the means test and lose their full unemployment pay. and it affects large numbers of other claimants throughout the rest of the decade. In response, the National Unemployed Workers Movement organises a series of protest marches against the mean test, and Love on the Dole, the novel, ends with an unemployed march based on one that Greenwood witnessed in Salford in 1931. Incidentally, Greenwood is a socialist who's writing the novel at a time in which he's unemployed. So Love on the Dole, although a fictional account of unemployment, is also strongly connected to the political events of the early 1930s and Greenwood's own political vision. Now, if you're producing an essay on this subject, I think it's worthwhile thinking about how the depiction of unemployed life in Love on the Dole connects with some of the wider social investigation on the lives of the unemployed which was conducted in the early 1930s. So I've got links on Ellie to Backer's The Unemployed Man and Beals and Lambert's Memoirs of the Unemployed, which appeared around the same time as Love on the Dole. And then finally for the seminar, I think it's worth thinking about the wider influence of this novel and play. So Love on the Dole, with its very sympathetic view of life for impoverished people in Britain, influences a lot of later movies in the 1950s, particularly kitchen sink dramas such as A Taste of Honey. But if we think about some of the wider contemporary debates about lives of the unemployed, particularly the controversy around Channel 4's Benefit Street, I think it's worthwhile thinking about how that compares and contrasts with some of the debates about lives of the unemployed during the 1930s. I'm sure we'll have some fruitful discussions there.